What's up, guys? It's Talon. Today I'm going to show you how to pressure an early lane matchup and then use that pressure in the lane to snowball the game and win by snowballing the early game. So initially, when you're in a good matchup, obviously if you have the level 1 advantage, you can look for a hard trade like this. And then if you do get an initial really good trade, what you're going to want to do is exactly what I do here, which is you hit one back minion one time so that it'll be slightly lower, or you can hit a front minion one time. But generally, you want these front minions of theirs to be slightly higher health like it is in this situation. And then once that happens, you're just going to walk at them as soon as this minion gets really low. So just watch how this minion gets very, very low. As soon as it is, I start just walking at him. I just know that he can't walk up because, I have the health lead. Again, this is what you do in an early game matchup where you have a big lead or where you have the advantage. And now he's just stuck. He loses that minion. So you're not going to be able to permanently freeze on him because he's going to not be hitting and you're going to be hitting. So you're just going to start poking and looking for trades as they try to walk up. So again, when he's trying to walk up for this last hit, I'm going to last hit, obviously, and then I'm immediately going to pressure him so that he can't walk up to last hit. So he only gets the XP from it. As the second wave comes, once you get level 2 is when you're going to want to look for a harder trade on him, or use that level 2 advantage to once again trade or zone him off the minion. So obviously I missed my ability there, but I still have the level advantage, so I can continue to zone him. You're going to see he loses another minion here. And so I use this early advantage again that I have because of my champion to pressure him very hard early. And then you see we wait for the next minion wave to come. And as the next minion wave is coming, we're going to crash it as quick as we can so that we can then recall for boots because now we have the boot spike. And so then once you have this early lane lead that you get from having your champion diff and from pressuring in this way, you can now look to punish the enemy jungle. So the enemy jungle we spot on the red side, for example. The Maokai is stuck clearing waves while I get to recall, and so that means that I get to decide to move first because he's going to be stuck there for a while. I have the ability to possibly move. I see Kayle, their jungler, move to the blue side of the map. You don't even always need to see the jungler to do this. You could just go ward their blue buff rather than obviously here I actually see them, but like you could even just go and ward here to get some information. I see them starting to fight, and so instead of going right back to lane, I end up going and pressuring the Kayle. Now, there's a few reasons that it's okay to pressure Kayle here. The first is, again, because Maokai has not recalled yet, and he's still stuck clearing a wave, so he's not going to be able to rotate to help. The second is Maokai is not a champion who can take advantage of being given a little bit of free gold the same way that, say, I was laning at Jax or a Fiora. I couldn't do this because they would pressure my turret much faster, and it would be much more dangerous if I give them a bit of gold. But Maokai, it's okay. The third reason is that Kayle is obviously a pretty weak early game champion, and so pressuring a weak early game champion in their jungle like this, when it's also a weak early game laner, is going to be very beneficial. And then the final reason is that my mid laner had priority, so I could rotate, and I knew my mid laner or my jungler who was close by would be able to potentially help me, so I wouldn't be in as much danger. So all of those factors, having the lane priority, having the lane pressured, the enemy top laner not being very good at pushing early leads, led me to being able to do this. Again, now Maokai is a pretty hard champion to kill at level 5, and so my goal is not to kill him, it's just to push the wave really quick. Maybe trade on him to pressure him off a bit, as you can see. But then I get that timer on their jungle camp. Because we invaded their jungle camp earlier, we can see when the next one's spawning, and we can utilize this to immediately go and invade them. Now, Kayle ends up showing on the opposite side of the map, which means that now we just get a free invade. After this invade, we go back to lane, start to trade, and look for a gank with our jungler, who obviously almost kills him, but we end up not quite killing, but it's still fine. Again, the main things are understanding that we can use this early prio in these types of situations to really push that early lead as best as we can. Now that I have that early lead, I'm going to recall when I have a decent amount of gold. For example, here I have 1700 gold. I'm going to always make sure I'm keeping my recalls up so that I am continuing to have the item diff on him since I have this lead. I'm then going to build up a big wave about 30 seconds before the objective by utilizing the Scorpion and multiple minion waves in order to crash a big wave under his tower, keep him stuck there, while I then get the agency to potentially move. Since I end up getting the level advantage and have more minions here, I can also trade with him like this to kind of have the pressure and the ability to move while he's sort of stuck really low under his turret. And then once I see Kayle on the top side and my teammate on the top side, and I realize that I've pressured him to back enough that I can pressure the turret, I'm just going to pressure the turret, try to get a big gold lead here. So I'm going to, again, he is forced to back because we win the trades on him. I saw the enemy and my teammates all on top side. And so I know I have a lot of time to then once again play for another item diff. And so now I've pressured the turret. I've utilized my prio to help my jungle and also still make sure that I keep up the lane and win the lane well. And then I have my item advantage here. And now I'm going into this overall game very strong. I'm permanently just pushing the wave. You can see once again another objective is spawning, and instead of hard trading with him or whatever, I'm just going to trade with him once I have the lane push to keep the lane priority, but I'm really going to focus a lot more on having prio for the objective. Now my teammate ends up kind of messing this up, I think, and going for a possible gank here, but no, it looks like he does end up going, so this was a different scenario I was thinking about. But yeah, so basically just always keeping that pressure in lane. You don't actually have to rotate until the enemies start rotating. You can just keep this pressure. So I see that the enemy don't actually rotate, and so I just stay on having the pressure on the lane. But as long as I'm constantly keeping the lane pushed, it always gives me agency to move first and to make the first decision, which then we can use to now get this overall 2,000 gold lead. I'm going to take a sip of water because I've been talking a lot. And now again, you see I'm paying attention to the jungle rotation where we make him flash here, and then we're going to end up being able to kill him as well. Again, just constantly keeping track of that jungle timer because of the fact that we invaded that blue. So you can see how that one invade on blue leads to 2 future invades on blue, giving us an additional kill and allowing us a lot of pressure in the lane. And then we're able to pressure the Maokai as well, who ends up dying. And now that we have this type of advantage where, again, we're playing against a champion who cannot push leads well or pressure split pushing in Maokai, we're going to now try to look to possibly rotate to other parts of the map since we have taken the turret early on. I'm going to wait for my Serpent's Fang because I'm really close to it. And now with this 2-item spike, I'm going to rotate towards top side because the bottom lane is already pushing, so I don't have to worry about that. And again, Maokai is not good at pushing. So I'm going to use the fact that we can overstack this lane to look for potential advantages, which we end up getting on the Kayle, who we knew had no ultimate. Another important thing to note is that since we saw Kayle on blue side about 30 seconds, a minute ago when we killed them, we know they're going to go red side next since that's where their camps are going to be. And so I can use that cycle where we invaded them on blue side to then later invade them on red side in this type of scenario. We then utilize our control of their jungle to pressure really hard. And even though they end up getting the bot turret, we get kills in mid lane, we get the top lane turret, we pressure their red side. So we just get a lot more than just one turret, even though they do get a gold bounty on that. And so then we go back to bot side because now the camp or the wave is coming back to us. And so we're going to take as much gold as we can on the bot side while we're here. But you're going to notice as soon as I push the bot wave, I'm going to immediately recall and then go back towards the top side because that's where more action is going to happen. And that's where I can further push my lead, especially since the dragon is coming. Then we're going to utilize our pressure to get complete control over the dragon. I do make a mistake here and end up kind of dying because I just don't play it very well. So this is a mistake in terms of my mechanical play. But the decision making where I was all correct, and because we are ahead and we've utilized our lead to snowball, our team still ends up winning the fight and we get enough damage off for it to be fine. And so then from here, it's pretty straightforward, so we're kind of not going to talk too much about all of the rest of this. I'm just continuing to pressure my lead and potentially go to lanes. But then this does actually happen where the Xayah gets kind of problematic. And so if we look at it now, Xayah is actually extremely strong with the Yuumi on her, and this is something that I think a lot of people they might struggle with, is closing out games when you perhaps make one throw when you have a lead. And so something that I identified at this point in the game is that I'm going to need to now play through side lane a bit more because we're starting to lose some team fights, and this Xayah is very dangerous on team fights. But I'm so much stronger than everyone apart from Xayah that I can still really get a lot of pressure on the side lane and draw them to me, and then that will give my team a lot of pressure to then be fine. So I'm now kind of shifting my mindset to utilizing my lead on side since the team fighting was not going the best. And so even if my team dies here in bot lane, whatever happens, my main goal is to pressure bot lane. And so I know if I dodge the Lux route, I can potentially all in her and then get this top lane turret. And so that's what I'm looking to do. Now it doesn't end up working out. We try to poke her and try to fight her, but in the end, it ends up being kind of null and void, and we'd end up just rotating bot lane with the Hex Gate, which I think is actually something important to note as well. The reason it's important to note that I use this Hex Gate in this way is because the fact that I gained pressure on that top lane meant that I had control over the Hex Gate as I saw the rest of the enemy in bot lane. And so while the rest of the enemy are in bot lane, Lux cannot rotate, and so I get to rotate first through the Hex Gate because I have control over that once again. So then I'm able to rotate here, see this fight, and turn this fight around that otherwise would have just been a guaranteed loss of a fight. And then you're going to see my Thresh, kind of the GOAT Thresh there with the hook. I respect it. Very good by him. And so then we end up getting the double kill there and using our pressure to obviously end up pressuring them and then going for a Baron right after because of the fact that we know 2 of them are dead and those are their 2 main carries. And so that's kind of an important thing as well, is once you have that lead, if you are snowballing really hard, but someone on the enemy is still pretty strong, making sure you try to find ways to make their game hard is very valuable. And then if you're wondering what I was doing here, I was changing the music on my stream. Don't worry about that. Gotta have music. Sometimes it randomly stops, so you gotta fix it there. But I think I've kind of explained a lot to you guys about how to snowball, really utilizing kind of that early lane advantages that we spoke about to then rotate and track the enemy jungle, and then continuing to snowball that by keeping track of the enemy jungle, since once you get track of one of his camps, it's a lot easier to track where he is for the rest of the game. And then once, you know, you get into the later parts of the game, starting to rotate to other sides of the map and understanding, can you win through team fighting, or do you need to start pushing a side lane lead first? All of these types of things are really valuable for snowballing and pushing leads. Now, obviously, you know, you guys always say it in the comments, your teammates aren't as good as mine, your Thresh would never flash hook, whatever. I'm never telling you guys that every single thing that happens in my game is just going to happen in your elite, like, plat games. Like, I'm aware that my teammates obviously will sometimes make better plays because I'm in a higher rank. The point is not that you guys can just do every single thing I'm doing exactly how you can do it. The point is taking you through my thought process to understand the things that we can do and trying to replicate as many of those things in games as we can. Some of the things aren't replicable. Obviously, your Thresh is not going to flash hook someone every single game, and you're not just going to be able to get a free double kill on the enemy who are fed there. But making these other decisions that I'm speaking about will make it more likely that you will potentially be able to do these things. It's not about every single game it working out perfectly, because every game is not perfect. You know, mistakes happen from your teammates. Sometimes you get bad luck, whatever. The point is just the things that you can do to potentially make it more likely that you can win. And another thing you can do that make it more likely that you'll win is take control and vision of the enemy jungle like I'm doing here when you have a big lead. Rather than just instantly hitting the dragon and pressuring it, you can get this vision and pressure them so that they then can't really walk up. And then that makes it so they have to walk into no vision, and it's very scary. And then you'll see how Xayah, you know, she wasted her ultimate there, for example, because she doesn't really have any vision, but she still wants to contest. And then it allows your team to easily walk into the enemy jungle just like this. Very free to just walk at them. Then we end up, I think, getting the kill on Maokai. Looks like it'll be pretty close. We do end up killing him. And so again, this just constant pressure allows you to just be a lot more aggressive and make a lot more plays. Now, in the end here, Xayah ends up turning on us and killing us. I thought I'd maybe be able to kill her, but we couldn't. So this obviously, again, kind of a problematic situation where the Xayah is very fed. And so we have to approach fights, once again, making sure that we're aware of the Xayah and trying to make her game as hard as possible. Now, luckily, our team gets a good catch out on her, and then this allows us to go for the Baron as soon as it's spawning. Again, whenever you're focusing in the enemy carry, as soon as they die, even if the enemy jungler is alive, you can pressure the Baron because everyone else in the enemy team is so weak that we know we're just going to hard win a fight if we do go and fight them here. And again, shout out to Thresh for playing this kind of insane. Really well played by him. Then we end up lanterning and getting the kill onto the Kayle as well. And then from there, I believe it's pretty straightforward in how we snowball and win the game. So again, kind of just a video on how to snowball and push your leads. I know I've made videos like this before. I think it's good to kind of reiterate and make videos that are similar, that showcase different, you know, small examples of how to do these different things. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you're interested in coaching, just DM me on Discord, Alan1169. It's just $15 an hour, or through the link in the description. You can also find my Discord server, and I'll see you guys in the next video.